Hey, what's up, everybody?
What's good, everyone? Welcome to the channel. My name's Paul.
I'm Tracy.
From WeeklyFascination channel. He's my guest today here on Exjapter channel because, well, this channel is all about viewpoints from long-term foreign residents, of which Tracy is definitely one.
Right.
How long have you been here?
Got the gray hair to prove it. Been here 20 years.
20 years, so pretty much the same as me.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to bring up is, well, let's start with your story. Why did you come here, and why are you still here 20 years later?
My story, well, we were talking a little bit before, and I did have a few connections to Japan. Not really deep connections. So my dad's best friend growing up was Japanese. They grew up across the street from each other. Mm-hmm. And so I just always assumed that your best friend would be Japanese.
Okay.
That's like a kid's point of view. In fact, they were such good friends, they died on the same weekend.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we started off on a really high note there. But
great. We're going to be getting the viewers in droves.
That's right. So, you can cut that part or whatever.
No, that's totally going in.
And I worked for a Japanese guy, Mr. Nakamura, and he was the maitre d' of a restaurant where I worked. And he was raised in America, but he would always like give you little bits and pieces of Japanese culture. Like, oh, in Japan they do this, in Japan they do that. You know? And I was always very interested. Of course, I saw Karate Kid as a kid. And so I just had like a passing interest in Japan.
Sure.
And then in college, there was a group of exchange students, or sorry, rewind a year before, and one of my friends from high school had gone to Japan as an exchange student.
Okay.
And he had learned some kanji. I specifically remember him writing the kanji for rabbit on his notebook, and we were just like, whoa, this is like magic. This is insane. How did you learn that stuff? And I was very intrigued. I have a competitive streak. I thought, well, if he can do that, I can do that too.
Well, if you ever figure out how to write that kanji stuff, let me know.
There's a great book, Remembering the Kanji.
Yes.
And I did learn how to write a ton of kanji. I don't write so much anymore, but now it's using a computer.
Yep.
And I read Japanese every day for work, so it's being able to write it helps me recognize it. So, but as far as coming here, so I heard that you can teach English in Japan, and this is it's amazing. Like, I know a guy who makes a living doing this.
Oh.
But you can teach English in Japan, and at that time the exchange rate was much better for the yen, and so I thought, well, it was the middle of my sophomore and junior year, I want to say, in college, and I said, well, I'll just, how do you make money for college? Well, go to Japan and teach English for a summer. And that summer extended to a year, then 2 years, then 10 years.
Wow.
And during that time...
Without going back to school?
No, without going back to school.
So you basically took a 10-year gap year.
I did. I took it. Yeah, it was a gap decade.
Gap decade. There you go.
Jesus. So I don't recommend that. But after that, I had heard people talk about their MBA and their law degrees and stuff, and I couldn't decide what to do. MBA, law degree, MBA, law degree, JD, MBA. Why not? And then I just thought, well, if I don't do the JD, I'll always wonder. Maybe I should have that extra year. So I did the JD. I got the law degree, then took the bar exam. But then fast forward to 2014, my boss said, hey, we need somebody to go work on a project in Tokyo. And I volunteered. And he said, no, we need you in the LA office. I was like, okay. So he called me up and said, hey, that project in Japan? I said, yeah. He said, can you find people who want to go? I said, I can't think of anybody.
Found one.
Yeah. And he said, well, can you go? And I said, yeah. I said, when do I leave? He said, tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
So I jump on a plane. It was May 7th, 2014. That was my birthday. And so my birthday's in a couple days. And
happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So this is like a birthday video for me. Thank you. And my watch is talking too. We've been walking 21 minutes.
Ooh.
But so he said, yeah, get over to Japan, and you're going to work on this project. And so I came back, and I was like, wow, I really missed it here. And the whole time I was in the States, 14 years, going to school, going to law school, and working in LA.
How much had Japan changed in that 14 years?
Oh my gosh.
My gap between my first stint in Japan and then moving back was only 3 years, so it didn't feel all that different.
Yeah.
But 14 years, that's a different animal.
It is. Yeah. I remember being here in the 90s where You know, a gaijin was an exotic creature where you'd be out in the country somewhere, and I taught at jukus, these little cram schools, and you'd be on the platform waiting for the train, and people would just stop what they're doing and stare at you. And these days, they don't do that anymore.
No.
I guess it's
unless you walk around with a camera like this.
That's true, yeah. And we get people staring at us. Or you know what? The camera's facing us, but the people behind us are going like this.
Yeah.
I've had that happen a lot. But so how Japan changed? Oh boy. They started importing foreign workers in the service industry. So waiters, convenience stores, hotel staff. I started noticing a lot more foreign workers. Up to that point, I think I'd seen one foreigner who was a student working at Mr. Donut.
Okay.
In the 90s, and his Japanese was great. I was a little bit envious, but I wasn't envious of his job. But I was
maybe even grew up here for all we know.
Yeah. And so I saw one foreigner working in the Mr. Donut in the 90s. When I came back, almost every service job was held by a foreigner.
Wow.
Especially in Tokyo.
Right. I was gonna say,
Yeah.
mostly in Tokyo. I feel like it's becoming more common elsewhere as well. I mean, out in Yamanashi, where I used to live, several of the convenience stores out there has foreign workers now. Yokohama, where I live now, it's depends on the area. There's a couple of areas where they're very likely to be foreign workers, but I think much less so than Tokyo. Tokyo's definitely more international these days.
Yeah. And I notice even the small mom and pop restaurants will have like a foreign cook or a foreign dishwasher or a foreign waiter. And that didn't used to be the case in the 90s. So in 2014, when I came back, that was a huge change. Another thing was people don't even notice you as a foreigner anymore. And maybe this area is, you know, Shinagawa, Minato-ku area, Minato Ward. This is where all the embassies are. It's kind of like the Washington, D.C. of Tokyo. So they just kind of expect to see foreigners.
Sure. I would say Yokohama's the same, but probably that's more about just the number of Navy families from Yokosuka, the base town just south of Yokohama. So there's lots of Navy families that live in Yokohama area.
And they'll go up to Yokohama to go shopping or go grab a drink or something. Yeah, that's true. I did live in Yokohama in the 90s. And it was very livable. Very livable.
I think it still is. Honestly, I think the presence of foreigners in Yokohama is still not so different from back then. I mean, I was in Shinjuku a couple weeks ago and was just blown. It felt like I was in New York.
Yes.
You walk down the street and you hear like 5 different languages in the space of a block, and none of them were Japanese.
Yep.
and then I got back to Yokohama and I was walking around Yokohama station area and I was thinking, this feels like Shinjuku felt in 2002. So the Yokohama vibe is more like Tokyo was 20 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
So that's how it was different. Did you come back? Obviously, you were excited to come back to Japan in 2014, but was it your intention at that point, well, now I'm going to stay there forever, or what were you thinking?
No, I had a project that was going to go 3 months.
Oh, wow.
And
you're good at this 3 months becoming 10-year thing.
That's true, yeah. So that was a 3-month project. I wasn't saving money for college. I was just helping out my boss. It just ended up being 10 more years.
10 more years in that job, or did you quit or change?
I've had a couple different jobs, but I started here when I had to go back to the States, you know, because you get like a 90-day visit. We can go this way, it's really cool.
Okay.
Yeah, really nice trees and quiet, not so many cars.
I think that's the Imperial Family Pavilion I was talking about earlier. Yeah.
Cool. Great thing about it, like doing walk and talk like this, you get to explore stuff. I don't explore a lot in my apartment.
Yeah.
I started my YouTube channel because during the, what word can I use? The global event that kept everybody at home.
Oh.
That one. I thought, that one.
You mean the Logan Paul and Mike Tyson fight?
No, that one, yeah. But the one that kept everybody at home and working from home for a couple years, that one, I knew that travel was restricted, so I thought, well, there are a bunch of people who want to come here, but can't. So I'll just show parts of Tokyo for those people.
Doing the people a service,
I thought, well, I'm doing everybody a solid, and they'll love me for it. And I think I got like 20 views on each video. And then somebody said, well, know, if you don't show your face, nobody's going to know who you are. Like, yeah, that's the point. And then,
Am I supposed to be blurring you out?
no, yeah. I'm in the witness protection program. So anyway, that's why I'm really here.
What was your debut video with your actual face?
The debut video with my actual face was when I did, this is when in my Mr. Beast copycat phase, I did the shortest escalator in Japan.
Okay.
It turns out it's in Kawasaki Station near Moore's department store. And don't go watch that one, watch a later one. But then the next one
I'll
was...
link it below.
Yeah, thank you so much. The fastest elevator in Japan. And I was really excited to make that video because it's in Landmark Tower. And
Okay.
I was here when they built Landmark Tower. I remember it as a child when it was like 10 stories, 20 stories tall. Now it's like 70 stories.
Yep, okay.
But I took that elevator ride and it goes super fast. I think 700 kilometers in a minute or something. No, that's totally wrong. It goes really fast. Super fast.
Don't make me do math.
Yeah, that's why I went to law school, so I don't have to do math. But so I did that video, and it turns out the elevator shaft is on the inside of the building, so you can't even show like the outside as you're going up.
So
I'm like,
no meaning.
whoa, this is so fun, you know. So I show myself having a coffee at the top of the tower, and you know.
Okay.
Okay. Then I started making more videos about, you know, culture in Japan, how theft is so rare, and then I wasn't really getting any views, and so one day somebody said, well, why don't you just talk about your experience? Like, that's your value add. And so I took my tripod, stuck it in the ground in the park, turned my phone around, and said, well, this is how I learned Japanese. And that got like 14,000 views or something. And then I thought, well, gosh, I should keep pulling this thread. So, you know.
It was your, you emailed me and you linked one of your videos.
Probably
and
that one, yeah.
Yeah, it was. You were sitting in the park and talking about it. I actually think it was a cultural video. I don't think it was you learning Japanese, but I remember thinking, oh, this is really good, and
Yeah.
I think you did the right decision to put your face out there and start talking about your own experience.
Yeah.
So.
Because there's this thing like, you think like, oh, I gotta be handsome, I gotta be perfect or something, and
So you've ended up back in Japan, worked a few different jobs. You started your YouTube channel. Where do you see your YouTube channel going? Like, what do you want it to be?
So I always say this: I'm building a media empire,
All right.
and I'm building a channel that's going to grow to 1 million subscribers before you know it. But I'm only missing like 998,000 of those.
But go help him out. The link's below, and
Thank you.
go check out the channel for sure.
Thank you. He's got a good following, so nice loyal following, so that helps. But no, what I really want to do is just keep making videos. I've already done the calculation of what it would take to be able to do that full time. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I love being a lawyer. It's such a fun job, and I get to uncover scandals and crimes, financial crimes, and antitrust stuff like that. I get to read about stuff before it gets into the newspaper or on the news on TV, and that's why I don't really talk about my job very much, other than I do antitrust and fraud investigations. But
Oh, come on, give us a scoop right now.
I'd get in way too much trouble. But I've already done the calculation on what it takes to be able to be a full-time creator, and that's what I'm working toward in the next couple of years.
Awesome.
So yeah, that's it's just so much fun. I mean, to be able to share something I've learned over, like you said, something I've learned over the years, and what I think stops some people, unfortunately, is they say, well, yeah, I speak Japanese, I've been here 30, 40 years, and you know, I've been practicing like Iaido or something for 15, 20 years, and they think, I don't really have much to talk about. It's like, well, what did you learn in those 30 years?
Yeah,
You know?
that's a lot of life experience.
It's a lot of experience.
And I mean, I guess people think I'm not interesting enough, or someone else is already doing this, or
Yeah.
whatever. But I think
No,
it's just excuses to not get started, because
It is.
I think. I mean, I don't have any illusions that I have something absolutely amazing to say, but yet I have viewers who get genuine value out of what I talk about. So
Yeah.
great,
Well,
I can keep doing it.
I think to grow to some huge, crazy number, you have to be a little bit delusional, which I am. And so, yeah, I have no problem being delusional about that.
Awesome.
And building a media empire, having 1 million subscribers to start with.
Well,
And to me, that's the starting
best
line.
of luck, man. And seriously, like, and I feel like someone like you who's driven and who comes into it with a goal like that, I wouldn't bet against you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So
Keep going. Yeah.
on more
Keep
more
going with
praise,
videos.
more
Yeah.
praise. Okay.
No. Yeah, no, keep talking. Keep talking.
So, well, I just have one final question then. Like, what would you say to people who are thinking about, one, should I live in Japan or is Japan right for me? And two, would you tell someone to start a YouTube channel in Japan in this day and age? Like,
Sure, the answer is
in 2025?
Yeah, the answer is yes and yes. And so anybody thinking about coming to a place like Japan or any foreign country for that matter, I think the only really requirement, I think the only real requirement is to be comfortable with not knowing everything, be comfortable with things not always being clear, right?
Sure.
Be comfortable with uncertainty. That's it. That's what I'm trying to say. Learn to be comfortable with uncertainty, because you'll be in situations where you think you know what's going on, and then all of a sudden you don't. And you'll be in situations where you think, okay, I've been here a couple years, I know the culture, and then you get invited to a wedding, and you're like, wait, I have a suit. Can I just wear my blue suit and red tie? Or why is everybody wearing a black suit?
And a black tie.
And so, and just being used to the idea.
Oh, you said wedding. I was thinking funeral. White tie.
Yeah, white tie.
Wrong tie.
Yeah, you gotta wear a white tie to a wedding and a black tie to a funeral. So, that being comfortable with uncertainty, and also always think of yourself as a beginner. You know, we just met a gentleman who's been doing martial arts for decades, right?
Yep.
We're at Sengakuji, talked to a really interesting guy, and
Senkakuji is a temple that's just around the corner. It's where the 47 Ronin are interred.
great place to visit.
Yeah,
And
if you come to Tokyo, check it out.
It's really under-visited. Is that a word?
Yeah, undervisited.
It's under-visited,
Well,
totally.
we're here on one of the holidays of the Golden Week holiday, and there was, what, 20 people there?
Maybe 20
Yeah.
at most, yeah.
I bet if you go to Sensoji right now,
Oh, yeah.
it's gonna be
Yeah.
you're gonna be moving like
Yep.
like a rock concert.
Yeah, so, yeah, just be comfortable with uncertainty. I know I've said that 10 times. You can just take one of those takes, but...
I'm put them all in because it's good advice.
And always put yourself in a beginner mindset. So what we've both talked about is, I talked about the gentleman who does martial arts. We've both done a little martial arts. I've done it in passing, like jiu-jitsu and taekwondo and stuff, and not an expert by any means, but I think always reminding yourself to be a beginner. And when you come to a place like Japan, just remind yourself you're a beginner. And after a couple of years, remind yourself again, you're a beginner. And just always keep that beginner mindset. I think that's really super important. As far as somebody starting a YouTube channel, pick a niche. That's going to be the backbone of your channel. And you know, what are you going to talk about? What would you talk about? What do your friends say that you talk about all the time? You love to talk about. What do you do on the weekends? You know, do you go camping on the weekends? And you know, what is something that you would do for 2 years without getting paid? Right? Because the first couple of years you're not going to make any money. You're not going to get the views. You know, you spend 10 hours editing a video and it gets 5 views and 2 dislikes, you know, and some comments like, "Oh, you got that day wrong." That's going to happen. And always being humble, which I know that sounds weird, right? I'm so humble. I'm not. I'm delusional. But I think always be in a beginner mindset when it comes to YouTube as well. But I think if you have something to add to the world, and a lot of people, what becomes their niche is maybe something they've been doing for decades and they're really good at it, they can talk about it. People, if, you know, the shy person at a party, but once you get them talking about Indian pottery, they can go on for hours, right? That's your niche.
Yep.
That's how you discover your niche. What do people tell you you're good at?
And what are you into, and what can you genuinely enjoy talking about? I mean, I like talking about Japanese culture, and that makes getting in front of this camera and talking about Japanese culture to be pretty, you know, like riding a bike.
It's effortless, yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's why I say pick a topic that you can talk about for 2 years without getting paid. Because that's about, there are some people who blow up overnight, but, and there are some people who take longer. But
blowing up overnight, that's a lottery. And
that's a lottery. And I don't think it's the best thing for the channel, because when I've learned the most is when I made a mistake, or I didn't put enough time into research, I didn't put enough time into editing, and I think, oh man, the next one I'm going to do better. It just happened this week. I got somebody's name wrong in a video, and it's already published with like 600 views, so I can't just take it down and redo it. It's like,
yikes.
I just put a comment, sorry, I got the name wrong,
Yep. It happens.
It happens. So yeah, that for both of these topics, like moving to Japan and becoming a creator, is just keep that beginner mindset and always be in learning mode, and just improve each video 1% every time.
And as someone who has been doing this channel for 7 years now, and I have 6,000 subscribers, like, just do it for the enjoyment of it too.
Yes.
If you're doing it because you have to blow up and become big, you might get frustrated really fast. But if you enjoy what you're doing and you have an audience that likes you, then that's great. Or you become delusional and
like
want a full media empire.
One topic I was going to touch on is tourism in Japan.
Okay.
And have you noticed this? So in the 90s, I think, first of all, Japan was not a tourist destination. There were no postcards or knickknacks. It was domestic tourism. Now it's become an international tourist destination, but I think Japanese people are still getting used to having tourists. And have you noticed over the past couple of years, have local people become maybe a little more frustrated with tourists?
So now you're interviewing me.
Yeah, well, I want to hear your experience before I tell mine, because I don't want to poison the well.
Interesting question. I think if it's places that have experienced lots of tourism in general, like Kyoto, generally the people are of those touristy areas are pretty much used to tourism already, just not at the giant levels that some of those places are getting now. I think it's, as you say, it's the parts of Japan that weren't used to mega tourism and now are being inundated with lots of foreign tourists. The example I would give would be the Mount Fuji area. Of course, there were Japanese tourists who would go to see Mount Fuji, but not the giant numbers now, and the spillover into the community at large has been such that, regular neighborhoods and ordinary people are suddenly finding their lives inundated with all these strangers from strange lands. And it's something totally new and something that's, they're just adjusting to it now, and they're not there yet, I would say.
They're not there yet. So, really funny story about a guy who had to get rescued on Mount Fuji. Have you seen this?
Oh, he went back for his phone.
Went back for his phone and had to get rescued again.
So,
don't be that guy.
Don't be that guy.
The reason I bring it up is just yesterday, so good friend of mine, Nick, runs a CrossFitness in Nishiazubu where I work out, and he had a spare ticket to Ryzen, which is an MMA event. It was at Tokyo Dome, and between rounds, right, they interview the winner of the previous match, and then they do like a little musical number or something, and because they got a schedule to keep, and if one fight ends too early, like they got to make time for the next two to get out. But so between rounds, I went down to the men's restroom, and the first time I went, there was a tiny line, and so I went to the same place and went to get in line, and this big drunk guy just started yelling at me, no, in English. And I don't know what's going on. Like, maybe his favorite guy lost or something. Like, is that what he's upset about? Apparently, you know how they have there's a hallway where people are coming this way, and there's a line for something, and they had separated the line for the bathroom, so there was a group here, and there was a hallway going perpendicular this way, and then the rest of the group was here.
Okay.
And I didn't realize that. I went to the middle of the line. Because the last time I went, it was about that long. Well, I didn't know that behind that there was another 20 guys waiting for the bathroom.
Got it.
So this big drunk guy started yelling at me. Well, there were like 5 Japanese guys behind me, and he didn't yell at them. And I think maybe he yelled at me because he thought that I was trying to cut the line. I wasn't. I really thought that was the end of the line. And when I realized, oh, this is the middle of the line, the rest of the line is way over there, I went back there and everything was, peaceful. But I thought, did he yell at me because I'm a foreigner? He thinks I'm a tourist. And so I answered him in Japanese. I said, I'm sorry, did I do something wrong? He's like, yeah, the rest of the line is back there. And I look over and oh, okay. And I just went over there. And the people behind me, 4 or 5 Japanese guys behind me, they look at me and they're like, oh, that's not the end of the line. I said, I guess not. And so we all just went, But I think that could be the couple of different things people might bring up is, well, number 1, you were at an MMA event. And number 2, the guy was drunk. And number 3, you cut in line. And so maybe that had something to do with it. And then maybe this colors my perception of what happened on the way home, because I stopped at a local store that I always go to. They had installed a new register system, like a kiosk, where you go to pay for something. You have to hand it to the cashier. Usually they would ring it up, take your credit card, and give you the receipt and the goods. Well, this one, now you have to select on your own whether you're going to pay with cash or credit or your phone or something. And I'd never seen this particular machine before, and so I look at it and I'm looking for where it says credit card, and I'm holding my credit card. She just reached around the register and just pushed the button. And I was like, oh, you don't have to do that for me, like I can. And then after you scan your goods and scan your card, then you have to hit the button called Seisan, which means pay.
Yeah.
Well, I thought when you swipe your card, you paid. So she reached around the machine again and hit pay. And she looked like she was just either disgusted or frustrated with me.
She's over it.
Yeah, she's over it. So I thought, you know what, maybe it's me. Okay, like a couple hours ago somebody yelled at me for cutting in line, which I didn't mean to do. It was an innocent mistake. And now I've got a cashier treating me like I'm an imbecile. But I do start to notice, I've heard other foreigners say this, places where you normally get a lot of omotenashi or good service, I think the service workers are just over it. And instead of saying, in Japanese, in very polite Japanese, oh, please take a seat over here, we'll take your order, they'll just look at you and say, here.
Yep.
Just point to a seat. And I don't know if that's other people's experience, but I discussed this with a close friend, a Japanese friend, who I've watched improve their English over the past decade, and at one point told me, English isn't very nuanced at all. There's only one word for each thing. I was like, really? Give me a cup of Joe. What? Oh, may I please have a cup of coffee? And they're like, oh, English does have nuance. So
No.
what I think has happened is that in the beginning English class, Japanese people are told, maybe for simplicity's sake, that English is a very simple language and it's very direct.
Yes is yes, and no is no.
Yes is yes, no is no, and so there's no nuance to it. It's just if it's yes, yes. If it's no, it's emphatically no. And that's not true for English speakers, especially if you have, not me, but any foreigner who has any level of sophistication. You want to be, when you're a guest in a hotel, they say, like, I'm sorry, that's not possible. Instead, nowadays, sometimes they'll just say flat out no. So that to me is one of the effects of over-tourism, where people have been taught that English is very direct, and it's not rude to be very direct, and that there's no nuance in English. And so maybe that's one thing that would be like the next level for people learning English.
Sure. And it's especially jarring for people like you and me who are used to normal, really polite Japanese service. And so it's even more jarring because it's like, whoa, wait, what? I'm used to getting the irashimasen, name-sama desu ka, and instead you're getting, like, as you said, you here. Right? It's slightly difficult to adjust to. Now, you mentioned this potential linguistic aspect to it, but do you think there is any element of frustration in there as well? Like, there's just so many tourists, whatever.
I kind of I guess I'm kind of softening it, but I think there is some frustration with the tourism. We've seen a couple examples of bad behavior over the past year or two of tourists. And you know what? They're still the minority. I mean, most people who come over here are very gracious and very kind and very respectful. And they'll ask, like, oh, can I take a picture here? They don't just pull out their camera and start streaming. Like, that's just less than 1% of the people who come over here. But those are the people who get news, right? Those are the people who get on the news. So yeah, I think there's a little frustration. I think, you know, I've lived in a tourist town. I went to college in Reno, Nevada, the biggest little city in the world. And every once in a while, you would get tired of tourists, because when you're trying to drive down Main Street, trying to get to work, and tourists are just jaywalking in front of your car, like, oh, there's a casino, and they just jump off the curb and, you know.
Yeah.
Or they get drunk in the middle of the day because they're on vacation, you know.
Yeah.
Or they've been gambling all night and they're tired and they yell at the server for no reason at all. It's like, yeah, you get tired of tourists. So I can kind of see their point. I can see it from their point of view. When you're trying to live a quiet, peaceful life and all of a sudden a bunch of people come from out of town and act a fool, that can be frustrating, especially when you pick a place that is nice and quiet for that reason, and then all of a sudden it becomes a tourist destination. So yeah, I can see it from their point of view. I can see it from obviously my point of view, where it's, like you said, frustrating to go from this extreme politeness to extreme directness, where it's jarring. And I don't really have the answer, but I think it'll iron itself out over time.
Kind of as a growing pain sort of thing. You know, the beginning of this entire question was, how is Japan adjusting or not to the tourism? And we have to be perfectly honest, there have been more foreigners in this country in the past couple of years than ever before.
Yep.
So it's entirely new for many Japanese people.
Yes, and you know what? Somebody might want to tell the Japanese people that their government is inviting people to come. So
yeah, they got numbers quotas and everything.
They do have quotas. They have quotas. They're really pushing tourism. There's, I can't speak to any specifics, but overseas they're really advertising Japan as a tourist destination. So
interesting.
If you feel that there are too many foreigners coming to your small, nice hometown that you love, there are many reasons. Not just because Japan's a beautiful place and a wonderful place to visit, and there's the yen rate, which is not going to stay the same forever, by the way. I think this is very temporary, and I think for Japanese people, one thing they're very good at is being patient. So just be patient, and this too shall pass. But overall, I've said a lot of stuff about Japan, but overall, I want to wrap up that it's a wonderful place to live. Been here 20 years total. I'll be here probably until my last breath, if things work out according to plan. But I enjoy it as a place to create. I enjoy it as a place to work, a place to live. I found a wonderful gym I love going to, and the local stores I love shopping at, and daily life has just become just smooth, just a pleasure. And I get to meet cool content creators. Nice. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Every week it's a new fascination.
That's right.
Weekly Fascination.
Thank you.
That's the channel name. Please remember it. And thank you so much for coming on. This was really interesting. A good conversation. I think it goes to show that people who have been here for as long as we have, we tend to take on some of the similar points of view, and we understand each other very well. I know that a lot of my audience is actually long-termers in Japan as well, and probably could relate to a lot of what you said, and I appreciate you taking the time today.
Yeah, hopefully my experience, and you know, if my experience is completely different from yours, like, put it in the comments.
Yeah.
Tell me, like, hey, I've lived here 20 years and it's like this for me, or, you know, whatever.
Yeah, share your viewpoints. That's the best part of the channel in many ways, is that there's a lot of people who have a lot of knowledge who comment regularly, which I love. And if you do comment, I will read your comment. I respond to all the comments that I get. I don't always catch the replies to the replies, because kind of the YouTube...
It's a notification thing.
Yeah, the YouTube notifications don't always make that clear, but I do respond to all of the initial comments for sure. So remember to like and subscribe, and then go over to his channel and do the same. And, well, any final words?
Just see you in the next video.
Perfect. That's great. See you next one. Peace.